Members, can you please stand for Madam Chairman?
All be seated. Okay, councillors, we have 43 minutes. So question 4, I call on Councillor Stoll to ask your question regarding update on urgent highways works. Councillor Stoll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Could the Cabinet member provide an update on the £2 million programme of urgent highways emergency works, please? Thank you.
I call on Councillor Bingham to reply.
Thank you, Councillor Stoll, for that question. Begs the question, first of all, why we needed urgent works. When we walked into County Hall last May, got our appointment probably in June, we're probably 9 months into management of an inherited programme, inherited budget, some tweaks within there, but it's the clear message that I've received through this winter is that we inherited a time bomb. When you look at the state of our roads, it's a national disgrace. This week, the figures have been revised up from, I think it was 16.8 to 18.6 billion pound backlog in road repairs. The government does take 32 billion pound in taxes in revenue, in fuel duty and road fund licence from us, and reinvest 1.6 billion per year. So £1 in every 20 actually goes back into the highways. So we've just got this huge backlog. Now, Nottinghamshire's share of that was just under 400 million evaluated last year. I think after having been through this winter, it's going to have blown through 400 million. And we need 100 million per year invested in our highways to stop them deteriorating further. So that's the background that we're operating in. There are within the urgent scheme that the leader referred to in his report, up to a total expenditure of 2 million. There's money raised both from underspends in capital programme and from reserves at VIA, and we put 35 confirmed sites within that programme. And I'm pleased to confirm this crucial work has already started, and as of 2 days ago, Collick Loop Road, B6023 Mansfield Road, New Cross Junction, Robin Hood Avenue, Main Street, Kimberley, Loudham Lane, Woodborough, and Southall, Thurgerton, as well as Briar Lane, Ollerton, have been completed. I've not had a single negative response on that. It's been received very positively. The work seems to be carried out to a very high standard. A further 21 schemes have delivery dates agreed, with 7 further sites awaiting confirmation of delivery dates, evaluation and delivery dates. This programme, this urgent scheme programme, will be completed by the 30th of April. Thank you.
Indeed, Madam Chair, I do. And I'd like to thank Councillor Bingham for his very comprehensive answer, and also for confirming about Loudham Lane in Woodborough, which is in my division. My supplementary question is, can residents look forward to more works of this type in the near future? Thank you.
Call on Councillor Bingham to reply.
The simple answer is absolutely yes. With our additional permanent patching teams that are going to be working year round and the other improvements we're making across the performance, of, if you like, of VIA, there's going to be schemes delivered all around the county all year round. So absolutely, we're going to be focusing on that. Can I just make one point as well, that it's incumbent, and I do make this point every time, so I'm sorry I'm a bit like a stuck record, that it's incumbent upon all councillors and MPs to respect our employees in their public pronunciations, whether on phones or cones, as it's stated, as we say. Duty of care and safeguarding is our responsibility. We've got to keep up staff morale as we effect change. And there's been a lot of understandably frustrated public out there that in recent times have been made angry by public pronunciations, and I'd like to see it cancelled out, please. We have that responsibility. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Bingham. Question 5. I call on Councillor Kelvin Wright to ask your question regarding school absences for service families.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've been approached by constituents and by the wider Nottinghamshire residents in my role as Armed Forces Champion. There are times when service families wish to withdraw their child from school in term time in order to facilitate a family event. I refer not to standard holidays, but particularly to times when this is a direct result of a military service, such as an impending overseas deployment, which may well be up to a 6-month continuous at sea deployment. The decision to allow this currently rests with the head teacher. However, the MOD gives very clear guidance on suggesting that this is accepted. Can a Cabinet member confirm the Council is aware of the MOD guidance and recognises that all appropriate circumstances should be taken into account before a decision is taken regarding any legal action against these families? I add the caveat that I recognise the difference between a deployment and a 2-week exercise, and this should be balanced on risk.
I call on Councillor Simon Wright to reply.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Councillor Wright. We're not related, obviously. I welcome this question because it's quite dear to my heart. My own son serves in the Royal Navy, so I understand a lot of personnel and the challenges they have. We agree that head teachers should take this into account, specifically in relation to deployment. And we plan to issue updated guidance to our schools. As a local authority, we recognise the unique challenges that families of service personnel can face, particularly around school attendance. When there is a mobility or deployment involved, Nottinghamshire County Council has an Armed Forces Covenant, which is based on the principles that service families should not be disadvantaged because of military service. This decision to approve leave of absence in turn sits with the head teacher, but must be based on exceptional circumstances. However, we are clear that service elected reasons, such as preparing for or returning from an overseas deployment where leave cannot be taken during school holidays, should properly be considered. Head teachers should also consider any risks linked to particular deployment. The Department of Education and Ministry of Defence guidance supports this approach. The Council plans to issue additional guidance to schools to help them consider requests for term time leave for service families in a fair and consistent way.
Councillor Kelvin Wright, do you have a supplementary question?
I do, Madam Chair. I thank my colleague, and I know he is genuinely supportive. The boundary between head teacher and Nottingham County Council can become slightly blurred. Can I confirm some collaborative working going forward to ensure that policy is determined by elected members and not by the path of least resistance?
Councillor Simon Wright to reply.
Thank you again, Councillor. I can confirm we'll be working together on this jointly.
I call on Councillor Gowland to ask your question regarding drain and gully cleaning.
Thank you. I'm a councillor in an urban area and there's a real problem with getting drains cleaned due to parked cars. So I asked the Cabinet Member for Transport and the Environment, how do the council ensure with VIA that parked cars are moved before drains and gullies are cleared, please? Thank you.
I call on Councillor Bingham to reply.
Thanks to Councillor Gowland for the question. There are approximately 164,000 gullies on the highway network in Nottinghamshire, which are cleansed on a prioritised cyclical basis. In 2025-26, the annual programme was to clean approximately 62,000 gullies, and up to and including the 8th of March, a total of 60,160 gullies have been cleaned, so that's nearly 100%. At the start of the year, the streets that have had an historical issue with parked cars are highlighted to our gully contractor when the programme of works is provided. Each gully tanker carries advanced warning information signs. The crews will try and clean the gullies on the street, but if they are unable due to parked cars, they will install a sign on a lighting column and write a date and time when they will be back. Each location is attempted twice. In addition, where there is a long history of not being able to empty gullies, letters are delivered to residents in addition to the signs. Thank you.
Councillor Garland, do you have a supplementary question?
Yeah, thank you very much for the detailed reply. One of the issues is often commuter parking. I wonder if the council has considered working with the boroughs, because obviously there's an overlap between street sweeping and drain emptying, and often one has to go in advance of the other. And I think some work could be saved by working together. Thank you.
I call on Councillor Bingham to reply.
I don't see any problem with that. I presume that the street cleaners have the same problems as we do in cleaning the gullies. So whether it was effective or not, I don't know, but we can certainly have a dialogue about that. Thank you.
Question 7. I call on Councillor Brill to ask your question regarding 3-year highways programme.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to ask the Cabinet Member for Transport and the Environment if he can provide an update on the promised 3-year programme of highway works. Thank you.
I call on Councillor Bingham to reply.
Okay, I'll try in my dulcet tones to make it as exciting as possible, because this is really exciting news. I can confirm that the first phase of the 3-year programme of highway works has been published this week. That's phase 1. As I said, I'm pleased to announce that it contains record levels of investment on the network over the next 3 years, with significant levels of investment, with £122.5 million planned to be invested in 26-27 alone. The 3-year programme, and we are planning on a phase 2, as you will see or hear shortly. The 3-year programme brings to life our new approach to highways maintenance. That is to prioritise preventative maintenance, to stop potholes forming in the first place. Permanent first-time repairs to improve the quality of work so we don't pay to do the job twice. No quick fixes, repairing roads with stronger methods and materials so that they last. There's been a history, of course, of restricted budgets and spreading things literally too thin. We've seen the result of that this winter. Efficient and effective service delivery, cutting out waste and getting maximum value of money from our delivery partners. We're about to announce new framework projects or programmes, contracts, and a lot of detail will be flowing out once we're able to do that. That's a sensitive stage of negotiations at the moment. The winter mitigation plan prepared and resourced to deal with the damage caused by winter weather. And as I've already said in the urgent works answer, we are deploying year-round 10 additional teams, which I'll come to again in a moment, that are going to be repairing roads permanently year-round. And we're also, of course, lobbying for funding boosts. So we're getting more government money to put into highway maintenance so local residents and motorists don't have to pay twice to maintain the roads. We've already referred to taxation levels versus investment in the roads. And of course, this is a cross-party thing where everybody should be lobbying for extra money to put into our roads. The specific parts of the programme that I wish to highlight are allocating 9.6 million in this coming year, 26-27, to preventative maintenance treatment such as surface dressing and micro-asphalting. Allocating £5 million per year for an additional 10 patching crews which will be equipped with the tools and machinery to undertake high-quality permanent pothole repairs the first time they attend site. Whilst procurement is still underway, the intention is that 2 of these crews will include JCB Pothole Pro machines on an extended trial basis. So we'll be able to do a very strong evaluation of different types of operations. While site-specific designs are still under development, funding for resurfacing schemes has been allocated to allow thicker asphalt layers to be constructed with tougher, more durable materials such as hot-rolled asphalt. We'll not be entirely probably getting away with the stone mastic finishes because it's required in certain places, but we will be reducing that, we'll also be reducing temporary fills. This will ensure repairs are built to stand the test of time. The 10 permanent repair patching crews mentioned above will operate year-round, including during winter, to ensure the highway network remains in a safe condition and any winter weather damage is repaired promptly. I'm also pleased to confirm that further good news in the pipeline, a report outlining phase 2 of the capital programme and an additional injection of investment into highways maintenance is due to be tabled at the April Cabinet meeting. So watch this space as there is more to come. And we are looking, in terms of highways maintenance, at phase 2 to almost match what we're doing in phase 1. So it's going to be a significant boost to programme delivery so that we never have to go through the winter we've just been through. So thank you very much, everybody.
Councillor Brill, do you have a supplementary question?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I have one supplementary question, and thank you, Councillor Bingham, for that very comprehensive answer. In relation to all of the money that is now being invested in highways, could you explain how you're ensuring that these funds are being spent in the most prudent and effective way? Thank you.
Councillor Bingham.
Yeah, we'll be working very closely with our delivery partners at VIA, who are on a road change, I'd put it, organisational change, and I've been very excited by what I've seen and heard coming out of there. We are working, as well as on our 6-point plan that I've just outlined of delivery, we are reviewing, and it has been reviewed and about to be delivered, new procurement methods. We're looking at quality. We've actually taken on 3 clerks of works as almost a reversion to how works used to be carried out, so that we're not overstretching inspectors by putting them on inspecting new finishes, if you like. We will have staff actually going out to do that. So we're improving across the board, and we're going to be looking at, instead of temporary repairs in 24 hours, what we call wrong in 24, doing it right in 72. So in 72 hours, which we will change to do permanent repairs on the roads. And again, doing that year round. In short, I welcome you to a less bumpy ride in the Reform UK Highways way. Well, thank you.
Question 8. This question will receive a written answer, as the proposer, Councillor Doddy, is sick. So moving on to question 9. I call on Councillor Girling to ask your question regarding letter relating to refurbishment of County Hall car parks.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Can the Cabinet member please confirm whether he or the council received a letter from the police requesting refurbishment works to the front and rear car park at County Hall, and if so, will he read the contents of that letter to the council?
I call on Councillor Walker-Gurley to reply.
Thanks, you, Chair, and thank you, Councillor Girling. The works were not triggered by a single private letter, but by a formal multi-agency response to the Nottinghamshire Police Operation Walk in My Shoes initiative. Following a site visit in September 2025, it was identified that this area was a location where the public, specifically women and girls, were feeling unsafe. As a responsible steward of this land, and the council acted on these findings, I'd like to clarify that this work was funded through existing asset management and corporate contingencies, not the highways budget, and was essential to meet our statutory health and safety obligations.
Councillor Girling, do you have a supplementary question?
Thanks, Councillor Gurney, for that. I see you're not reading that information out. But actually, the request was about the footpath that's by the river, because it was unsafe in the airport, and also about moving some people on as well, because people didn't feel safe walking down there. So again, can you confirm whether or not that letter requested you to do the car park, i.e. the members' car park and the rest of the car park, where you patched up and you put all those lovely lines on there? That's the question, not some sort of thing about where it doesn't answer me. But can you read out where it says, and it actually specifically requests the car park is cleared and patched?
Thanks again, Councillor
I
Girling.
call on Councillor Walker-Gurley to reply.
Apologies. Thank you, Councillor Girling. I think you've got some councillors on that side from Rushcliffe Borough Council. If you're suggesting that a formal multi-agency site visit that was conducted alongside Rushcliffe Borough Council and the Nottinghamshire Police didn't happen, then you're calling into question your colleagues as well as the officers at our council. And the request was a professional recommendation following the police's Operation Walk in My Shoes analysis.
Question 10. As Councillor Doddy is absent this afternoon, this question will receive a written answer. Question 11. I call on Councillor Darrington to ask your question regarding MCA funding for highways. Councillor Darrington to speak.
Lovely. Thank you, Madam Chair. Could the Cabinet Member provide an update on the ongoing discussions with MCA to secure additional funding for our catastrophic backlog of highway investment?
I call on Councillor Bingham to reply.
Thank you for your question, Councillor Darrington. Alongside the Leader of the Council, I've been working with senior officers in Nottinghamshire County Council to make the case for additional investment beyond that already allocated by MCA. I'm pleased to announce that these discussions have been collaborative and positive, and there is a recommendation heading to MCA's Transport Committee next week to increase highways funding by a further 18.45 million in this coming year, 26-27, and by a total of 64.9 million for the 3-year period to 2029. It's our understanding that this proposal will require formal decision of the MCA board on the 8th of June. I've asked officers to draft a report with programmes of work for me to review urgently so that we are ready to deliver following MCA's decision-making process. Thank you very much for your question again.
Councillor Darrington, do you have a supplementary question?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have no supplementary question. It's just a gesture on behalf of myself and my residents to wish Councillor Bingham and his team all the very best in these negotiations, and we look forward to the fruits of his labour in the future. Thank you.
Question 12. I call on Councillor Gowland to ask your question regarding outdoor education programmes.
Thank you. As Cabinet Member for Children and Families, how many young people have benefited from outdoor education programme in the last 2 years? Thank you.
I call on Councillor Green to reply.
Thank you, Councillor Gowland. It's my first one since I got here, so I appreciate it. Just to be direct, 2023 to 2024, and then 24-25 I'll give you. So over the last 2 years, Nottinghamshire County Council's outdoor education service has been delivered through Notts Outdoors, and it's a significant number of children and young people in our county. So in that first year, 23-24, was 27,289. And then the second year, which is just this last year, 24-25, was an increase of almost 7,000, which was 34,000. 270, which I may add for the Forest fans in the room would outfill that stadium. So yeah.
Councillor Garland, do you have a supplementary question?
Yeah, thank you. Correct me if I'm wrong, I really hope I am, but I understand that the budget for this was cut in the budget. So can you explain how this service is going to be maintained for these young people going forward? Thank you.
I call on Councillor Green to reply.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Gowan, for that really important question. And what I will say is it's a pleasure to actually work around you with corporate parenting because you don't politicise it much and you ask the right questions on behalf of the children. So I think what you'll be referring to is page 38 of the last budget where it talked about £282,000. This service is cost neutral to the authority itself, and its current revenue budget is 282,000. So that will be self-provided within the service, just like you would run any business. So yeah, I find it quite confusing in those packs, just feedback that in the printout sometimes the coloration is red and some are black, and I don't usually like that because I think red means a bad thing. But before I do finish answering the question, I have the beauty of telling stories because I have children in my responsibility. So back in September, I fondly remember it was our 40th year for Notts Outdoors that we got to celebrate. Councillor Adegoke was there, Councillor Justice was there, the lovely Councillor Barlow was there, the ever present Councillor John Siemens was there, and my good friend Councillor Wright was there, which I've just shown a picture. He quite enjoyed the John Deere tractor. So we had an amazing time. And these services are vital. I want to thank Paul Bogle and Gary Richards, who superbly led the day, and they lead the service wonderfully, and we're grateful for them. And it just really helps, Madam Chair, our children to disconnect literally from devices and connect with nature. And we really saw that day, and it was an amazing time. Our sites are phenomenal. Mill base in the famous Ashfield that we're so proud to have. Even my niece told me she had a lovely time last year. And a really cool story as well is, in terms of efficiency through Notts Outdoors, is a gentleman. He might be a bit embarrassed by this, but his name's Neil, and he's got his own woodshed there, and a phenomenal bloke. He was telling me how the TV kept getting broken at Hag Farm because the young people, as boisterous as they can be, they break things. So from my experience in learning disability units, I said, well, why don't you use the TV box? And literally within a matter of weeks, this gentleman, Neil, had made one and shown me it. So that's an efficient way of looking after services. And as Councillor Matthews would like that, that's the reform way. So yeah, I hope that's clear for you, Councillor Gowland. And in close, don't fret, we'll continue to look after our services. These services will remain cost efficient, and I want to say thank you to all the staff at Notts Outdoors, and as we always say, genuinely our door is open to anyone, and if you want to ask us anything, please do. Thank you.
Question 13. I call on Councillor Smith to ask your question regarding sponsorship for banners.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Can the Cabinet Member for Econ Dev please confirm how many of the £75,000 taxpayer-funded flags have now secured sponsorship to reimburse the council, and in which locations have those flags been sponsored? Thank you very much.
I call on Councillor Walker-Gurley to reply.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Councillor Smith. It's quite a narrow view that we're seeing about these flags, very sort of narrow financial view. It does seem to me, Councillor Smith, that the aim of this question is for you to promote the idea on social media that Reform UK say one thing and do another. So I'll just start by saying we're still waiting for Brexit. These banners are multi-use and long-term assets, and their use will evolve over time. They're used by local governments across the entire country. An interesting fact for you, £250,000, roughly that's the number that this council saves approximately per child per year for a foster carer. If these banners help us to recruit just one carer, the initiative has paid for itself multiple times over. Councillor Green has spent lots of time working hard promoting foster carers. Thank you, Councillor Green. There's a campaign coming our way to promote fostering and adoption. Councillor Green, the Cabinet, the Reform Group and I wholeheartedly want better lives for our children who deserve a family home built on love. Councillor Green recently mentioned to me how touched he was meeting these wonderfully kind foster carers for which we are all the corporate parents. And while doing his work, Councillor Green met a couple, Paula and Andy, who are part of the Mockingbird constellation, a peer-on-peer type group that meets monthly. Foster carers, looking after foster carers. Curiously, Councillor Green asked Andy what actually got... Curiously, Councillor Green asked Andy what actually got his attention to foster. And he mentioned, you'll never guess, an advertisement whilst driving. The impact this one family have had on many children and other foster carers is profound. The power of reaching our communities. Think of all the fuss that's been made, Councillor Smith, about our union banners, uniting the country, something to be proud of. It's a priceless investment. The Reform Way is family, community, country, and these banners for fostering and adoption will be for our children, our families, and asking great communities to embrace our children so that we can find more Paulas and Andys. And I think you'll agree with me that for the council, the taxpayers, as you rightly mentioned in your question, this is a positive.
I'm going to ask you to speak now. However, would you please refrain some of the other peoples from interjecting when you're speaking, okay?
Thank you. Sarah, just for the minutes, the short answer there was none, in case you missed it there. Bear in mind, residents, Councillor Walker-Gurley, were flying the Union flag proudly for free, voluntarily, and with no income whatsoever received to this council from the sponsorship or non-sponsorship of the flags that we've just heard out. The 75 grand could equate to 1,000 pothole repairs. Do you regret not putting £1,000 into pothole repairs instead of flags that aren't being sponsored?
Councillor Walker-Gurley, would you like to reply?
Thank you, Madam Chair. To be clear, the none that you answered for me, again, refers to the specific current status of commercial sponsorship, but focusing solely on that, viewing this initiative through a narrow financial lens, was never the intention. This was never just a short-term income generator. It's a permanent addition to our communication infrastructure. Yeah, it was.
Councillors, I asked you not to interject when a fellow councillor was speaking, so will you please stick to that?
Again, these flags or banners, whatever you would wish to call them, they're spread across the country. I think I did a Google search with something like 28 different councils that I could find straight away that are using them with 26 different uses. Some of them are generating money as well. But right now, our banners do provide a 24/7 physical presence. They reach offline residents, hard-working residents on their morning commute, and families like mine who take pride in seeing the Union flag on their highways. And I like to view this as an opportunity, not through this narrow financial lens that you keep going on about, and bringing it back to positive options for the future of Nottinghamshire. Dr. Doddy's not here, but I was going to ask him about public health, and could this... Yeah, exactly. Could this be a high-impact channel to help Dr. Doddy?
Do you misunderstand what I said before? Yeah. Well, can you just please keep quiet while the councillor is speaking?
Could this be a high-impact channel to help Dr. Doddy with stopping smoking in pregnancy, winter vaccinations or emergency flood warnings? We've already mentioned Pride in Place, adding vibrancy to the grey highway corridors and celebrating our local military, royal history, which will undoubtedly improve community well-being. Economic support in my world. Could we maybe promote country parks, market towns, attracting passing traffic to the local high street? So again, rather than fixating on a narrow commercial position, why don't you, Councillor Smith, give me some suggestions for what actually matters to your residents? If you have any ideas for community initiatives, we can promote them together on these banners to improve Nottinghamshire. I'm all ears.
Question 14. I call on Councillor Introna to ask your question regarding cost of County Hall car park works.
Saving the best till last, Madam Chairman. Thank you very much. Can I please ask the Cabinet Member for Economic Development and Asset Management, can you please confirm the total cost of the recent white lining and refurbishment works of the County Hall car parks? Hopefully it'll just be a short answer in Great British pounds sterling. Thank you very much.
I call on Councillor Walker-Gurley to reply.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Councillor, for your question. The report I signed off on the 21st of October 2025, titled The Future Options for County Hall, clearly outlined the urgent capital and maintenance works necessary to support the continued occupation of the site while the outcome of local government reorganisation is awaited. The programme set out revenue and capital investment to ensure the building remains safe, operational and fit for purpose during this interim period. The works also ensure the building retains operational value, and the budget for this work was built into the asset management budgets with no impact on the highways related budgets. The majority of the revenue works have now been successfully delivered. This included improvements to the whole of the car park around County Hall, not just the members' parking area, as some councillors have suggested, the jet washing to remove the moss not resurfacing, as some councillors suggested, out by facilities maintenance colleagues at no cost. The replacement of the faded white lining was done to comply with health and safety standards to support Operation Walk in My Shoes being run by the police and ensure the income from sporting event parking can continue to operate. This work, to give you your answer, cost £19,000, which is offset by the income generated from the car park.
Councillor Introna, do you have a supplementary question?
Thank you. Yes, Madam Chairman. Thank you, Councillor Walker-Gurney, for your answer and actually giving me a figure. That is very warmly appreciated. I do notice in the Highways Capital Programme Executive Summary, paragraph 5, there is mention that at least half the roads in our county suffer from poor line markings. Does the Cabinet Member think that residents will appreciate the fact that we prioritised our councillor car park over their junctions and road safety of pedestrians? Thank you.
I call on Councillor Walker-Gurley to reply.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Councillor. Again, I think you'll appreciate that this is a council that has, I think, is a £1.6 billion budget. Again, it's two totally separate areas of works. As I mentioned in my initial answer, the money came from a separate pot to what you're talking about, so I really don't understand the relevance of the question.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor. You'll have to put... No, it's not. It's switched off. Fine. Switched off. Right. Item 11. Notice of motions. We have two motions on the agenda today. Please be aware that in order to complete all business today, we will need to start motion 2 by 4:30 p.m. So motion 1. The best start for all Nottinghamshire's children carried over from the 20th of November 2025 meeting. I call upon Councillor Gall. Councillor Gowland to speak.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. There's an alteration to this motion. Do I read it out now at the beginning? Yeah, okay. So the motion now reads that Council recognises the work done by our existing network of family hubs across Nottinghamshire. The Council calls upon the relevant Cabinet members to ensure that each Nottinghamshire family hub continues to allow families to access the most appropriate service for them, whether that is the early intervention speech, language and communication needs service or the local NHS speech and language therapy service. And that council calls upon the relevant cabinet members to encourage local universities and colleges to support increased training and staff in this shortage discipline. And this motion is now moved by me and seconded by Councillor Rory Green. So first of all, I greatly welcome the cross-party working on this motion. We're all here to do our best for the residents of Nottinghamshire. And although there are things we disagree on, I'm sure there's lots of things we do agree on. I know there's lots of things that we do agree on. And I expect that ultimately we all agree that our first responsibility is to our children. I think we probably can also all agree that the reintroduction of the Best Start family hubs is an excellent thing. An invention so good it was invented twice indeed. We need to make sure that we maintain good routes for staff development within these new structures, I note, but it's really important that these family hubs, as far as possible, are in person, not virtual, for the reason that this motion is about, so that staff can interact with families and that our staff who are experts in observing child development can pick up where there are problems with speech and language. Speech and language is clearly critical for children's engagement with friends, family and ultimately education. And problems with speech and language obviously often intersect with other problems. So it's just another issue for a child who is already struggling to have to deal with. And furthermore, problems with speech and language can often lead to other issues such as issues of mental health. But across the UK, there are long waiting lists for speech and language therapy. According to government data from last year, and as of November 2024, 65,000 children were waiting for speech and language therapy, with nearly 46% waiting over 12 weeks. And 12 weeks is a long while when you're 4 or 5. Now, I recognise the importance of tiered interventions, with many staff working in children's services being trained to provide initial interventions and being trained to identify children requiring more targeted specialist interventions. It's important that when the required and timely speech and language therapy support is needed, it's available. No one wants to delay interventions that help children communicate, learn and thrive. One way to address this issue is to ensure that we are training speech and language therapists locally. It's surprising to learn that there's no training on this at all in Nottinghamshire. The nearest degree courses are at De Montfort and Sheffield. Now, we can't dictate what universities and colleges do, but the council could encourage the colleges and universities to try to fill this gap. I hope the council can support this motion. Thank you.
I call upon Rory Green to second the motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Happy to second the alteration to this motion, and I reserve my right to speak.
I will now open the debate and Councillor Justice to speak.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to thank Councillor Gowland for highlighting this important issue. And I'm also pleased to celebrate the fact that Nottinghamshire County Council has transformed the former children's centres into successful family hubs. These family hubs offer support to families from conception to the age of 19, with a Best Start offer for 0 to 5s at their core. Nottinghamshire's Best Start strategy aims to improve the numbers of children achieving a good level of development by the age of 5. Our family hubs are key to this, alongside our Families First partnership programme. Every community has access to our network of family hubs, which are delivered through a mix of physical buildings, outreach into communities and families, and through digital information and support. Speech, language and communication skills are fundamental life skills. That is why Nottinghamshire County Council commissions an early intervention speech, language and communication service through the public health grant, providing early support to 2-year-olds with speech, language and communication difficulties. Speech delay is not uncommon amongst young children. Studies estimate that about 1 in 10 children experience such a speech delay. And I know this from my own personal experience because my son also had a speech delay. And it is a very worrying experience for a parent. But largely, children do overcome this. And we, in our family hubs, have interventions in place to make that possible. I'm very pleased that our family hubs provide this early intervention speech, language and communication service, which will work for many children. In this service, there is an opportunity for children to progress onto the NHS speech and language therapy service as appropriate. The public health team will aim to continue to deliver a streamlined path for all families across Nottinghamshire to ensure that they get access to the right care at the right time. Thank you.
Councillor Wilmot, please, to speak.
Thank you very much, Chair. This is an issue really in my heart all the time. And I welcome any initiative that helps to educate small children, so to achieve a good level of early development. The problem is very serious. The amount of children starting school with no writing and reading skills is depressing. Now let's look at these Best Start family hubs. They should not only be enabling children to socialise, play and learn, there should be sessions for the whole family to learn about family values that educate families to help each other about discipline and how to bring up your children and help with their education. Now these hubs should not only have speech and language therapists, they should also involve other organisations such as the NHS with help on obesity, smoking, drug abuse and discipline training. These issues I'm talking about are early intervention schemes essential in today's world. These problems must be tackled head on. If we are going to tackle the antisocial behaviour problems we are having at present, many of our youngsters are growing up without the necessary help required to live a happy, contented existence, properly educated to live a happy family life. Yes, we need more speech and language therapists, but that is not going to solve the problem alone. Can I say, I do a lot of walking down our high streets in Ashfield, and there are a lot of teenagers at the present time seem to be congregating around. I want to ask them what they're doing and so forth, because I'm inquisitive, I like to know, and they say to me, there's nothing to do. Nothing to do. Well, then whose fault is it they're thinking there's nothing to do? Because we have a lot of organisations out there, but obviously they don't know about them. So we do have to publicise as much as we possibly can to make sure they're aware of it. But also, we know that boys' brigades, scouts, swimming groups, youth football and other sports are struggling at the moment to keep their heads above water. And these organisations need to carry on. Otherwise, we'll be in real trouble because, as I say, youths are congregating. I'm seeing it all the time. But as I say, we have to make sure that they are viable organisations, that they have got funding. Make sure that even if we haven't got the funding, try and help them to find funding so that they can do something to keep our kids happy and contented and doing something instead of antisocial behaviour. All of us have got this problem in all of our areas. I know that because people tell me, but we've got to fight against it. And the only way to do it is to work together on it and get some funding to all these organisations. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. It's Councillor Smith now to speak.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. As a former Cabinet Member for Education and Send, I'm speaking in favour and to support the motion brought forward by Councillor Gowland on behalf of the Conservative group, because it rightly focuses on giving every child the best start in life, particularly with speech, language and early development. And I think we all agree across the chamber that that is crucial. There's some challenges that we face as a council, but also these services face. If you read the ICB report, it highlights issues in SEND provision and speech and language therapy. And it also highlights a national shortage of specialists. And early language development, as we all know, is crucial for school readiness and the long-term outcomes. And I know the Health and Scrutiny Committee has done some work on school readiness. Under my leadership as the Conservative administration, we did put in the strong foundations in place for family hubs. They were rolled out across Nottinghamshire between 2023 and March 25, and they were built from existing children's centres into what we call a one-stop shop model, which is the family hubs. And that support is available from pregnancy to the age of 19 or 25 if you are a child with SEND. And it combines family hubs are really good because they combine universal services, early help and targeted support under one roof. And I think that is fantastic. And I just think it's also really important to note that as a council, we should be really proud, right across the chamber in all parties, that Nottinghamshire didn't receive a single penny from any national government to do family hubs. Not a single penny. And we did do it. The council self-funded the programme with partner support. Cabinet approved the rollout in March 2024, and now we have between 17 and 18 networks covering every district, and that was delivered by March 25. So within a year, the council itself rolled out 18 family hubs, and I think that is absolutely tremendous. And as I say, it was with no government funding whatsoever. So if you're a family living in Bassetlaw, you've got 3 family hubs that you can have access to. If you live in Ashfield, you've got 2, 3 in Broxtowe, 2 in Gedling, 3 in Mansfield, 3 in Newark and Sherwood and 1 in Rushcliffe. Right across the county, wherever you live, or if your child are born, you can access support under one roof from these family hubs. And I think, again, we should be extremely pleased and proud that we can do that, because those hubs bring services together. They offer parenting support, child development and health services, behaviour and relationship support, mental health support, and they're delivered through physical hubs, outreach locations and online services. And that, as a family hub, makes it easier for families to access help, and it brings better joined up working between departments, as we've heard from the 2 cabinet members that have already spoke today. And it is the early signs that are really positive of these rollouts, and hopefully we can do more going forward. Family feedback's really strong, and I think we should be proud of that. They like the environment, it's in their communities, not coming to a shiny new council building that can be quite petrifying if you're a family who's just had a new baby. So they're a welcoming environment, good range of activities, easy to support. Access support, and over 80% of parents supported enjoy the expanded provision, and I think we should continue with that. And it does matter, Madam Chairman, and why it matters right across the chamber is because it can identify those early signs, insert support where it's necessary, and then an improved communication between services, and will then reduce the pressure going forward in life on other services. We've heard that adult social care, I think £350 million when it was us, it's probably gone up with inflation, but if we can highlight those issues earlier, and it improves the school life and journey life of the children as well, I think that is absolutely fantastic. So anything we can do to continue supporting this model is welcome. I think today's motion shines a light on that, and let's get on with it. Let's deliver even more if we can, and let's get the government to fund some as well. Thank you very much.
Councillor Cullen.
I'm in. Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to be clear, the Alliance, Nottinghamshire Alliance, are going to support this motion. Of course we are. The development of the family hubs is a huge bonus for the country, Nottinghamshire, for our children. Speech and language therapy is, the lack of speech and language therapists is a national crisis. It's not a local crisis. And it's a crisis brought about by many, many years of chronic underfunding in this area. So we're now faced with something that could have been averted years ago, and now we have to face it. And it's like a perfect storm, because during COVID, the number of children and young people who subsequently need, after COVID, subsequently need speech and language therapy has increased dramatically because of a service not being available during those times. And the other part of the perfect storm is that people are less willing at the moment, because of the terrible burden of student debt, people are less willing at the moment to take on many years of training for a professional role, when in a service where the pay isn't absolutely great, you're never going to easily be able to pay off your student debt. So I feel that it needs to be looked at differently by the government, by us, by everybody, if we're going to solve a crisis that was of our own making, because we all allowed these many, many years of underfunding. We need to look at it differently, and we need to put in place, I'm saying this in lots of meetings at the moment, the Brian Clough method of grow your own talent. And we need to put in place apprenticeships where we can grow our own talent and not burden our young people or our professionals with huge student debts, and put in place a training pathway for that. And also, it would be remiss of me to allow a whole meeting to pass without me mentioning the crucial role that the voluntary and community sector play in this field of work. And it's not mentioned very often, so I'll mention it at every opportunity. For example, Little Talkers, who work with the speech and language therapists in the family hubs, and Small Steps, Big Changes, and in Nottinghamshire, voluntary organisations that help us with this, and can also be further funded, and their work can be enhanced. So I really support this motion. I really hope that we can get better outcomes for children and young people, because being able to communicate is so very, very crucial to them having success in later life. So thank you for bringing the motion, Councillor Gowland.
Councillor John.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just move this. So I rise to support this motion, not just as a local councillor, but also as a teacher who has seen the word gap in our classrooms every single day. School readiness is the #1 indicator for success. So this motion, it's just more than just a request for services. It is a vital mechanism to deliver the Nottinghamshire strategic plan. Our strategic plan explicitly commits this council to ensuring that everyone at any age can reach their full potential, and it specifically prioritises our children, the best start in life. However, we cannot deliver that best start if children in Bassetlaw, Harworth, Blyth and all throughout Nottinghamshire County are arriving at school already behind because they lack basic communication skills. So this is a reality stark in it's a national crisis. We are facing its 25% vacancy rate for speech and language therapists and a waiting list of over 65,000 children nationwide. The local solution, our strategic plan, champions the use of family hubs, as my other fellow councillors have already mentioned, as an integrated community anchors by embedding therapists directly into hubs like Harworth and Burcoats up in my division. And we move from a reactive to a clinical model that is proactive, community-based intervention, our plan promises. As a teacher and education practitioner, I know that if we don't catch these issues before the age of 5, we often are managing the consequences, behavioural challenges and educational disadvantage for the next decade or so. So this motion, it honours the strategic plan by integrating specialists, making the NHS and family hubs work as one, which is great. Securing the future by collaborating with our universities. I'm really pleased for that suggestion to grow our local workforce that can sustain the strategic plan's ambitions. And if we want the council, a council that meets strategic goals, we must give our children a voice. So I support this motion today. Thank you.
Councillor Fashio to
Thank you, Madam Chair. So when we looked at putting a motion about this together, we thought we would try and get something that was not party political, something that we could all agree about in order to help the children of Nottinghamshire. When we were doing the research, we saw that in our the best start strategy for 2021-2025, it stated around 50% of children living in areas of socio-economic disadvantage start school with delayed language or other speech, language and communication needs. So this is clearly an urgent and widespread matter that needs addressing. Language skills are an indicator of academic success from day one. So it's a major problem, not just for these children and their families, but for our county and our country if this problem isn't addressed. Delayed speech can result in children having problems learning, making friends and communicating their needs to others, which then means that they not only have poor academic performance, but can develop behavioural difficulties and mental health problems purely because they just can't communicate how they're feeling or what they want to do. Currently, there's long waits to see speech and language therapists often at a time when every week counts for a child's development. Both waiting times and the number of appointments offered have been criticised by parents locally because their children need urgent help to gain these speech skills. There are already drop-ins at Best Start hubs and that's great, but they are relatively infrequent and families need more. They need more support and they need it earlier. That's why we've brought this motion, but urging everyone today to make sure that we do what we can so that every child in Nottinghamshire that needs to see a speech and language therapist can do. Children only have one chance at childhood, one chance at their education, and we need to equip them to be the best they can be. We can't let them down, and I hope everyone can support this motion.
Councillor David Clark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you to Councillor Gowland and Councillor Green for bringing forward this motion. I do support this motion. Hello, Martin. That's great. Okay, thank you for both councillors for bringing forward this motion, which I do support. It's genuinely encouraging to see the grown-ups in the room working and to see work that's clearly focused on the wider good of the residents across Nottinghamshire, work that prioritises substance, impact and long-term benefit. Very often it feels too much of what we do in this chamber risks being shaped for immediate reaction on Facebook rather than meaningful outcomes. So it's refreshing to engage with something that reflects careful thought to doing the job properly, which we're all here to do. This is the kind of approach that builds trust quietly, steadily, and without the need for continued performance. One can only hope that this spirit of seriousness and responsibility becomes more common in discussions, because this, after all, the level of maturity the public deserve and need to see from our elected representatives. Thank you.
Councillor Green, you have reserved your right to speak, so would you like to speak now, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, it's twofold here. It's our children, but also we, the adults, it's our responsibility, this. Thank you, Councillor Gowland, for doing what you've done today. It takes a lot of collaboration. We talked about that in the prayer, actually, about collaboration. And I think there's a certain way and a certain timing to do politics in life. And it is a political chamber, yes, but these are our children and they're watching, and these parents are desperate. My wife's a speech and language therapist, a specialist one, so this is my forte. She has tens upon tens of desperate parents ringing her up weekly, sometimes daily, just trying to get some support, which speaks of the national crisis. And it's not a new thing. This has been happening for 15, 20 years. I mean, the Burko report, the famous John Burko, was 2008 when he talked about this, about the three-tier model of intervention. So first is universal, which is the starting point, which actually can incorporate even us in this very room to help our children how to communicate. It's a God-given right. The second tier is targeted response, which is helping with specialists, but not always. And then the last one is using specialists. We can't fully, that's another fine. We can't fully put all the pressure on specialists, not because I'm biased because my wife is one, but there unequivocally is a little, there's a little bit of money that's gone towards this, and I'm really encouraged actually in this room today. So what I would want to do first is to come back to some of the comments in the room if possible. So Councillor Wilmot, you mentioned about some interventions not happening virtually. I think it's a really valid point. In fact, I remember 6 years ago, my wife having to be forced by the Royal College of Speech and Language Therapy to do online virtual communication with under fives, which we said was preposterous, but our elected officials at the time thought it was the right thing to do. And my wife, another speech therapist, said, you cannot do this. You're going to create an utter crisis with this cohort of children. And now you're seeing some of that manifestation. So you make a great point. We should never do interventions online. And they were even saying it should be masked at distancing and stuff, which I get, but hindsight's a wonderful thing. I also wanted to say that Councillor Gowland mentioned about those COVID lockdowns, and it was a tough time, but I think we've had a lot of lessons to learn there, and we're seeing that impact. Councillor Smith, thank you for coming on board positively, promoting the family hubs to the public listening today. I think that's a really good virtue, so thank you for doing so. I wanted to thank Councillor John for raising her professional experiences, and this is something I want to highlight to the House as well. There is an astronomical pressure on our schools and our teaching staff that are holding a lot of our children beautifully, but I think there's more that we can do holistically with the NHS, with the schools, not just pressurising specialists, but equipping these schools. So I'm going to give you a little encouragement. LCLAN is a wonderful training course that can cost schools anywhere from £400 to £550, and it's a wonderful investment that is more that universal and that target approaches that I was talking about, that we all in this room can do. Genuinely we can, and we can make those investments. That's a short or lower cost that we can implement in our schools quicker. I think our parents are doing a wonderful job, but these family hubs, as Councillor Smith and many have said, are such a vital thing. It is happening in our family hubs. There are drop-in sessions that are happening with speech therapists that are coming in. They're spending time with our parents and enabling the children to play, because without play, you can't actually diagnose what they may be struggling with. So, yeah, what I wanted to say as well to everyone in the room today was, wouldn't it be wonderful if I could propose as part of this motion, as an action rather than just mere words, that we all sign together, all 66 of us sign an official letter to our Nottinghamshire MPs, like we did with the highways, and not say we as in reform, but we should all be in this together. And I think it'd be a wonderful thing if we can hold central government to account. So I'm asking you, I will be asking you to follow up on that with me and with Councillor Justice and Councillor Gowland. I want to thank you for listening to everything I've said. I've got a lot more to say, but I feel like it will be filling the airways. But you will see continued improvement in our family hubs. I will hold them to account and myself to account. So do believe that there's a lot of more improvements to make within them. But I think we just need to not put too much pressure on these specialists and all empower and help one another. Otherwise, we're going to create a cycle of doing more of the same, and that has to stop. So thank you for listening, and appreciate all your inputs today.
I call on Councillor Gowland for her right of reply.
Thanks very much. I haven't got much to say. I'll just start by picking up on the last point, really about resources for this area. I just want to come back to an earlier conversation about council tax. Council tax is a really bad tax because it's very regressive. But on the other hand, you know, taxation across the board is required to pay for these things. So just always fighting for the lowest tax isn't very good if we want to have, you know, good things and a good community. But leaving that aside for now, first of all, I wouldn't have brought this motion probably if I'd realised Councillor Green's family links. I apologise, Councillor Green. You probably know a lot more about this than me. But anyhow, the issue of family hubs not being virtual. I'm in Rushcliffe and there's only one, and it is in Bingham, which is a long way from the centre of mass of the population in Rushcliffe. Now, Rushcliffe is clearly an area where parents are likely to have more resources, which makes it easier somewhat to parent. But of course, many issues can arise in any family: postnatal depression, autism. This can happen to anybody. So I think it's important that all families have access to in-person family hubs. And finally, on the education programme, don't get me going on student loans. That is my pet topic, and it's an extremely annoying situation for the young people, well, not even so young people now in this country. But it's very important that we encourage local people to train locally and hopefully stay locally, which will at least make it a bit cheaper for them to study. So thank you very much for the general support for this motion.
So I will now put the motion to the vote. So all those in favour, please show. I think that's all of us. So thank you very much. So, pass. Yeah. So now we're on motion 2. Let's just give them a little. Motion 2, opposition to the East Midlands Mayor's proposed tourism tax. I call upon Councillor to move the motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I rise today to move that this council rejects the proposed introduction of tourism tax across Nottinghamshire. Recent reports indicate that Labour's East Midland Mayor is considering introducing a tourism levy on overnight stays, potentially around £1 or £2 per room per night. Now, on the face of it, that may sound modest, but we must remember that taxes rarely remain modest. What begins as a small levy has a habit of growing over time. More importantly, it sends entirely the wrong signal to visitors and to the businesses that depend on them. Madam Chair, tourism and hospitality are vital to our local economy. Across Nottinghamshire, tourism supports thousands of jobs and contributes significantly to the regional economy. These are not abstract numbers. They represent the livelihoods of people working on our hotels, restaurants, pubs, taxis, and local attractions. In my own area of West Bridgford, the visitor economy is particularly visible. Every match day at the city ground, thousands of supporters travel to watch Nottingham Forest play. Many of them stay overnight in hotels, guest houses, and other accommodation across West Bridgford and Nottingham. These visitors are already contributing to our local economy, eating in our restaurants, shopping in our town centre, and supporting local businesses. And that brings me to a simple point. Nottinghamshire should be rolling out the welcome mat for visitors, not presenting them with a bill at the door. Yeah. Madam Chair, hospitality businesses are already under enormous pressure. Rising energy cost, inflation, higher wages, and increasing taxations are squeezing margins across the sector. Introducing a tourism levy at this moment risks placing yet another burden on businesses that are already struggling. If we truly want to support tourism, we should be focusing on making Nottinghamshire more attractive, more competitive, and easier to visit. Because the reality is simple. You don't grow a visitor economy by taxing visitors. You grow it by welcoming them.
Yes, that's right.
Madam Chair, we must also recognize the wider principle here. Residents and businesses across Nottinghamshire are already facing rising costs and increasing financial pressures. The answer cannot always be another levy, another charge, another tax, which Labour believes is always the answer. And that leads me to a broader concern. When government runs out of ideas, it too often reaches for a new tax. But our region deserves better than that. Nottinghamshire is a fantastic place to visit. From our cities and historic market towns to our countryside and sporting venues. We should be proud of that, and we should be promoting it with confidence. What we should not be doing is creating new barriers for visitors who choose to spend their time and money here. Madam Chair, the message we send today matters. Do we send the message that Nottinghamshire welcomes visitors, support local businesses, and wants tourism to grow? Or do we send the message of Labour policy that visitors are simply another opportunity for taxation? For the sake of our hospitality businesses, our local economy, and communities like West Pitchford that benefit directly from visitors, I urge colleagues to support this motion and reject the introduction of tourism tax by our Labour mayor. Madam Chair, I'll finish with this. Our message today should be simple. Nottinghamshire is open to visitors, open for businesses, and we will not support policies that tax people for choosing to stay here. Thank you.
I call upon Councillor Girling to second the motion.
Thank you, Chairman. I second the motion and reserve my right to speak.
So, Councillor Robertson, first to speak.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to congratulate the author of this motion for the great work drafting something that's pithy and impactful, something we can effectively debate and consider. For the avoidance of doubt, my congratulations go to Councillor Alex Dale, County Councillor for Dronfield and Unston in Derbyshire. This motion is a word-for-word copy of the motion Alex Dale submitted to Derbyshire County Council on the 12th of December 2025 and then debated at the full council on the 11th of February 2026. This shows what the Nottinghamshire Conservatives are. Bereft of inspiration to represent the needs of Nottinghamshire residents and lazily plagiarise a motion from another council and just change references from for Derbyshire for that of Nottinghamshire. What are they aiming to achieve? More than likely some social media content claiming a victory in the chamber if the Reform group votes the motion, which they did in Derbyshire, or make claims we don't care about Nottinghamshire residents and businesses if we vote it down. I don't believe there's genuine interest in residents or businesses, just political posturing as always, and just to get a few likes on social media. Moving to the content of the motion, I would say that I'm not a fan of the Mayor's proposed tax either. It's not really a proposal, it was just a suggestion in the media from what I understand. Not even gone through the white paper in Parliament. The Misterton division gets a large amount of seasonal tourism from our caravan and boutique glamping sites and boaters on the Trent and Chesterfield Canal. And we do stop them because they come for tourism. Our pubs, restaurants and shops enjoy buoyant trade from visitors who come to stay. Anything that would deter this from coming would have a detrimental impact on our businesses that rely on the tourism trade. Now, I will agree with Councillor Rom on this. What starts as maybe £1 or £2, as people have suggested, may end up being £5 or more because Labour often get drunk on the power to raise taxes. And I do not trust Labour with taxes. The other aspect I'm uncomfortable with is where the money is raised and where it is reinvested. The Misterton division would do its fair share of levying this tourist tax
but would any of that money get reinvested into our division, or would it be siphoned off to subsidise vanity projects in the urban metropolis? From what I have seen of this mayor, she doesn't fill me with confidence that she would have the Misterton division's interest at heart. I have little faith any money will be invested in the north of the county and believe it will be invested on DEI vanity projects in the urban areas. I have canvassed residents of the Misterton division about this proposed tax, and unsurprisingly, 100% of responses I received were against the imposition of such a scheme. Visitor trade to our businesses is so important, and these businesses, often pubs, cafes, restaurants, takeaways and local shops, are the places where our young people get their first entry-level jobs and start the journey on the employment ladder. The impacts of the government's NICs and minimum wage increases have already been telling on our businesses. Any further impact on our local economy in the rural north would be devastating and would send ripples across our community in many different ways. So I'll conclude, and I must ask, do we need this plagiarised motion to express our concerns to the mayor? Of course we don't. Our leader and our cabinet are in constant dialogue with the mayor and MCA. So I'm confident that they can express our dissatisfaction with the idea of a tourist tax and lobby for it not to be implemented, which I call on Councillor Barton, and the top team to do. I have every faith that we'll do a better job representing this position than a lazy plagiarised motion. It is on this basis that you can't be bothered to do your own work, that this motion has little material substance other than to inflate Tory egos rather than raise valid concerns for residents and businesses. I won't be voting for it. So you can go on Facebook and tell your 3 followers that I won't be doing it, but then point them in the way of my 2.8k followers, and you'll see that we oppose the tourist tax. We don't support Tory egos. Thank you.
Councillor Gowland to speak, please.
Do we want to send a message that we welcome visitors in Nottinghamshire? That's what you asked. Well, the answer is we actually really don't at the moment around the forest ground. If you go to the forest ground, you'll know it's a nightmare near match days, and people who drive to the area drive round and round unable to park. You will have heard me talk about this at length in the past, so I'll spare you the lecture. But one of the questions that I'm asked on social media when I talk about this is, why should forests pay? And that's a really good question, honestly, because the services that will support forests will support the cricket ground, will support the rugby ground, will support the boating lake. These services should be for all the organisations, and yes, they should contribute towards them, but probably it would be a good idea if it was provided centrally by the councils. But in that case, why should the residents of the north of Nottinghamshire pay for car parks in my area? This is £1 to £2 a night that could support a park and ride, subsidise public transport for the fans, support the clean-up that's required. There's a lot of clean-up required around the matches. Maybe support a walk of fame to help people get from encourage people to take the train and walk to the sporting quarter. It could pay for car parks and park and ride and buses in the Peak District, because I think most of us are fed up of going to the Peak District and seeing cars, our own cars in some cases, because it's not possible to get in there any other way. Councillor Robertson, I'm looking forward to Easter. I really am looking forward to Easter to go to your church. It could, help to support aspects of your church. So I think £1 to £2 a night, providing coherent services to make Nottinghamshire welcoming to visitors is good value.
Councillor Lee to speak.
Chairman, thank you very much. It's really cute to 2,500 people follow your page. Try 13 million people view my page in 28 days. So that's cute numbers, that. However, let's get to the actual facts, shall we? The truth is Reform aren't going to support this because they don't want to be seen supporting a Conservative motion that, in fairness, they agree with, and they know they agree with it. We only have to look at the mess that Labour have made with their independent chums in Newark and Sherwood, where I represent, where they spent £150,000 on some stones outside the district council offices. They did a consultation. The residents said, no, please don't waste £150,000 on some stones, and they ignored the residents and did it anyway. That's the Labour way. I know we like talking about the Reform way, spending money on flags, not potholes, but let's talk about the Labour way, where they just ignore residents and go ahead and do it anyway. Now, we know that the Labour mayor promised that she wouldn't bring in a precept for the mayor. However, we know, I'm not sure if you know, but we know that the plan for the Labour mayor is now to bring in a precept after the next election, because she's going to have to do, because the police and the fire authority is being transferred over to her. So the mayor will be bringing in a mayoral precept. And this is just another way for the mayor to be able to tax the residents again and again. Yes, she is moving the precept from the fire authority to the police, but are you telling me that if she needs to claim £600, it won't ever so slightly be £600 or 604? Everything I know of Labour, they always tax people more than they have to do. You only have to look at national government to see they tax one place, take from Paul to pay Steve. It's the Labour way, right? Overly tax people. I know Councillor Green likes to tell stories, so I'll tell a story about Labour. When I was in the army in 2003, they sent people like me. Sorry, you're yawning. No? They sent people like me to Iraq and Afghanistan without body armour, and my friends lost their lives due to not having the right equipment. Why taxing people in my constituents? Why sending friends and colleagues to Iraq and Afghanistan to die? So I won't listen to Reform telling me what I should or shouldn't be doing, and I won't listen to Labour saying that they don't overly tax people, because the reason I joined this party was because you sent my friends to war without the right equipment and they died. So, excuse me, you've just sworn at me. I'll accept an apology after this meeting. I get it's tough for you to listen to this, but the truth of the matter is the only people that will do the right thing for the residents are Conservatives. There's nothing stopping you bringing this motion forward. You said that we stole it from you. No, this has been going around Derbyshire and Nottinghamshire for...
Can you just stick to the subject, please? We're talking about...
It's really interesting that you stopped me as I was exactly talking on the subject. So, as I was saying, this motion has been in Derbyshire, Newark and Sherwood, in nearly every single district council, where Conservatives and Reform at the Newark and Sherwood District Council actually supported it. So it's interesting that you don't want to support this. But listen, it's the Reform way, right? You want to be seen doing everything yourselves, spending money on flags, not potholes, not putting the residents first. And the truth of the matter is if this comes forward, the council tax comes forward from the mayor, and the extra cost from this tourism tax comes from the mayor, we will be able to say, and we will say, that you voted against it. Now, Mick, I know you're a decent fellow. You are. We speak a lot outside, and you know this is a motion that you should support. Yes, you can speak to the mayor privately, but how much more oomph will it have if everybody at this council supports it? And you can go back to the mayor and say Conservative, Reform, Labour, maybe not, Independent supported this motion, and County Council all support that you shouldn't be bringing this in. That's more weight than just you and your Reform colleague going on their own. I'm sure you'd agree. Now, if you want to take a little break to have a chat with your colleagues and tell them how to vote, I'm sure you will. But we've already seen in the last two committees that your colleagues have been supporting us on votes. So you never know. Some of them might support us today. However, I'm going to stop there because you never know, the chairman might want to interrupt me again.
Councillor David Clark, please, to speak.
I'm still in shock. It's okay. Just give me a second. Great to see the Newark Drama Group out in force today, anyway. I'm against this motion because this motion is premature and it lacks originality. It's direct copy and paste from colleagues in Derbyshire, as Councillor Robertson said, addressing a proposed tourist tax, which at this stage
is only rumoured and not even been formally tabled. EMCA have yet to make any decision on what it would look like, and our leader, Councillor Mick Barton, sits on EMCA and obviously can put our case forward. Responding to speculation rather than substance is not good governance, it's political theatre, which is no need to say anything there. What's more concerning is what this reflects. What it reflects is a group that's running short of its own ideas, relying instead on recycled motions from elsewhere. Someone should have explained to them that when the council said we need to increase recycling, that's not actually what they meant. That risks turning serious decision making into little more than an echo chamber. And our focus should be on real, not pressing issues, real pressing issues for residents and businesses, not preemptive debates built on uncertainty. Perhaps more time should be spent engaging with local businesses.
What we are discussing here is a proposed overnight levy. It is not a tax. The amount of the levy being proposed is between £1 and £2 per night. This will be negligible on a hotel bill. The talk of this harming local business through the implication that people won't come to the area due to the extra tiny levy is quite frankly ridiculous. Please don't keep referring to this as a tax. This is a national policy which is giving regional mayors the power to increase investment in their areas to support tourism. The income raised can be used to improve the local infrastructure which is required to support tourism and in turn attract more tourists. Nottingham city centre in particular is already popular with overnight visitors. Think of the number of hen and stag parties that arrive at the weekend, as well as the people attending sporting fixtures in football, cricket and ice hockey. Of course, there are the traditional tourist attractions too, such as the castle. I just want to say what a fantastic attraction that is. I went there last weekend after many, many, many years of not being, so that's been a really great thing and another thing to attract tourists. I'll focus on the city for now, as that is closest to my Arnold South Division. It costs money to maintain the city for visitors, additional policing, additional cleaning, provision of public transport and other infrastructure, such as public toilets. As councils have been strapped for cash during 14 years of Conservative austerity, they're struggling to provide additional support for the visitor economy. A negligible levy of £1 to £2 per night could make a massive difference to provision for visitors and so lead to more visitors in future, growing our economy further. As for the increased cost of accommodation, looking around the county, I did a little look on booking.com yesterday. I could barely find anything for less than £70 on this Saturday night, which is outside school holiday time and outside the holiday season. We all know that accommodation prices fluctuate with demand. That's the market economy working that the Tories with reform love so much. And so it's a bit rich for businesses to be saying that an extra £1 or £2 on their overnight rate is going to be so harmful. I'm sure they'll have no qualms in adding to their prices in the school holidays when the money is going into their own pockets. It's okay to say that people pay into the economy. That's money that's going into businesses' pockets. They're not investing it in the local infrastructure. This concept is not new to the world. The tourism levy is not new to the world. There are many cities and areas around the world which have similar levies. This is new legislation to the UK, so it stands to reason there's not much to compare with at the moment. So I'll not be supporting the motion. I think that this overnight levy is an innovative idea to generate some more income for the region at an extremely low cost for those who are visiting the area and enjoying the facilities.
Councillor Adams to speak, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed. Never ceases to amaze me how absolutely zero understanding of finance, business and everything else Labour have got. The English dictionary definition of a levy is quite simply to impose a tax, fee or fine. So it seems education in Labour isn't great either. To claim that this was a copy and paste, I find an incredibly interesting concept, considering every single one of you is written from a pre-prepared speech today. These are all notes I've just made. I'm not. You can see them, they're all written, handwritten notes. Handwritten notes. Oh yeah, sorry. I'll be in trouble. Honestly, I mean, it's interesting because you're about to side with what's just been said, and I find that amazing. You know that you just stood up and said all those fantastic things about how it's just for social media. We're doing it just for like. Who do you think's on social media? Social media doesn't live at 99 Wednesday Road. Social media is people, is the public, is the opinion of the nation, is the opinion of Nottinghamshire. So when you say you're just creating it for social media, well, yes, but social media is Sam Smith, it's Mick Barton, it's Janet Gold, it's, everybody in this room, it's the public. So, your argument is that we shouldn't provide content for the public based on information and decisions that are made in here. But all these decisions are made in here affect them. And I know we tried to keep kicking the press out and sending them, God knows where you're going next week, Lauren. I mean, it might be in Derbyshire, possibly. But, it's no surprise that you keep trying to remove them from the room. But because, you seem to be really bothered about scrutiny, and I don't get it. I really, really, really don't get it. So look, I'm going to talk about the things that I do get. And I do get that Colwick Country Park is a great place to visit. Stoke Bardolph Lock is a great place to visit. Burton Joyce Riverside is a great place to visit. Netherfield Lagoons are great places to visit. And also, while you're there, you can go to the Bank Inn in Netherfield, or you could go to the Vale Social Club in Colwick, the Gedlin Inn in Gedling, the Cross Keys Pub in Burton Joyce, the Nelson in Burton Joyce, we shoot in Burton Joyce, or you could nip for a bacon sandwich at Sage Cafe in Burton Joyce as well. And that's sort of my point. By adding an extra £2 onto a visit, wherever it is, or however much it is, like we've said, £2 will this week be £2, next week it'll be £2.50, and every week from then on it'll probably gain 50p because they'll keep finding an excuse of why they can add it and why they can increase it, and they'll blame somebody else because they always do. And the knock-on effect is those businesses don't get people into them. They don't get people to come and buy a bacon sandwich. They don't get people to come in and buy a cup of tea. And it's all very well, Councillor Clooney, making out that businesses, just have to put up with this. Well, I'm sorry, but businesses are families. What do you think they're doing it for? Why do you think people run businesses? Do you think they do it to all be multi-million CEOs and drive around in Teslas and send rockets to the moon? No, guess what? They do it to feed the family. And there's nothing wrong with that. And it frustrates me constantly that your view is that because someone's running a business, that's a negative thing. They're trying to feed the family, they're trying to employ people, they're trying to give people jobs, they're trying to give people holiday time. There's lots of reasons, there's things, businesses are incredibly important to our area. I'll be honest, Penny, as well, I wasn't over the moon with hearing you say you didn't want people to come to Nottingham because of Nottingham Forest, because it lives on your doorstep, and I know it annoys you constantly. But, don't live there if you've got a problem with it, move somewhere else. It's like living outside of a school, if you don't like cars, don't move next to a school. My final little point is just about politics, and a number of times today, a lot of you all don't want to hear about politics. You're in a political chamber. Guess what we're doing? I'm going to give you one guess. Politics. It's it's not again, we're not doing brain surgery, folks. If you don't want to do politics, don't become a politician. Thank you very much.
Can I say point of order, please? Number 91. Hello, I'm here. Can I say it? Yeah. Just about the businesses who are going to be having this levy. It's going to be, there are big businesses as well, like Jury's Inn, Travelodge, Premier Inn, places like that. So it's not just somebody, and also the little restaurants and things. They're not paying the levy. Okay. Obviously, it's just the overnight people.
You have made your clarification. Can we move on, please?
There we go. Thank you, Chair. If there's one thing on today's agenda that I'm really interested in, that is tourism. It was only 30 years ago when I was put on the tourist board in Nottinghamshire, which was a fantastic organisation with a gentleman from Birmingham was in charge, and he improved things really well. But then all of a sudden the funding disappeared, and so did the organisation. And since then, we've never had really enough organisations, or the county council, the district councils, the Nottingham City Council, never really publicised the amount of tourism attractions that we've got. Not good, not as much as what they should have done. But I do fully support this motion today, because our visitors' economy is having enough problems without us making our own. You must remember, we do not have regular hot weather like abroad. We do not have seasides next to our attractions. We do not have strong tourism board to fight for our existence. But what we do have is a strong major supporting attractions, historic market towns, Sherwood Forest, Robin Hood, Lord Byron the poet, Ada Lovelace the first computer programmer, the composer Eric Coates, the world champion boxer Ben Court, and many hundreds of other things that we've got that we don't publicise enough to make things really top class as far as the tourism attraction is concerned. We haven't, as I say, we haven't got the seaside where a lot of people go for a week, and if they go for a week, they don't normally come around our area, unfortunately. But they do weekends. They do weekends. But this tax will stop them from coming. There's no doubt about that. I mean, the position is, if it's not the price of it going up, it'll be the principle of it. The principle of putting a tax on, and that people will take, really be against anything like that. As I say, when we must recognise that tourism is a vital factor in keeping our economy moving in the right direction, and recognise that our tourism and heritage are vital to our very existence. Not forgetting, of course, tourism creates hundreds of jobs, which we all already know, vital in keeping our residents in work. We must also keep our nighttime economy supported. They are struggling at present. So, Chair, it is wrong to impose a tourism tax on this struggling sector. And it would be a great idea for the Mayor to talk to local authorities before it starts making decisions that affect our area. So I fully support this motion to ask the East Midlands Mayor to recognise his proposal on this. I fully support us to not support the East Midlands Mayor to recognise this proposal, as the tourism tax will affect our economy and thousands of jobs and businesses that will afford to lower. Now, some years ago, as I've just said, I was part of the Nottinghamshire Tourism Organisation, which unfortunately stopped because of funding problems. Now, I've already said we have much to offer in Nottinghamshire, and we must do more to help those providing the tourism and heritage potential, and putting a tourism tax levy in the way of progression would be a serious problem to tourism businesses. We should be telling the Mayor that it's wrong to do that. You have to remember, our tourism attractions have had to put increases in admission charges because of the present circumstances. Everybody's putting up prices, and that further price would only exacerbate the situation from making people visit our areas. And as I've already said, it would be a matter of principle not to pay these extra charges. Thousands of people are struggling in all over Nottinghamshire, all over the globe, all over England, and this extra cost will be a disability that they can't afford to do. Thank you very much.
Councillor Carr to speak, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Firstly, I'd like to point out that this isn't Derbyshire. I am originally a Derbyshire lad. I lived there until I was 28, so I've got no animosity toward Derbyshire whatsoever. And quite frankly, I don't care if a motion comes from somewhere else, if it's a good motion, which this one is. And I don't normally, oh, he's not in the room, that's a shame. I don't normally make personal attacks on people in here. I think the nearest I got to it was in the last council, when Councillor Adams, who's not here, stood up and gave us a lecture about environmentalism, and I likened a green Tory to a vegan butcher. But that was about as near as I've got. What a shame that the entente cordiale from the last motion hasn't made it into this motion. I cannot see, for one reason, all the political backbiting that's gone into this debate, and I won't take part in that. The hospitality sector over the whole of the country is struggling. The last thing we need in Derbyshire and Nottinghamshire is deter potential visitors from coming here and staying here. The whole idea of MCA and a regional mayor was to drive economic development. This is an example where it will not drive economic development, but the opposite. I will therefore be supporting this motion, and I would ask if I can get 10 people to agree with me that we have a recorded vote. And if Reform do vote against this, then you will have to explain to the people you represent why you didn't actually vote for something that you want to stop. Thank you.
The Walker Gurley to speak, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Firstly, redistribution of wealth is not the reform way. We are not voting against the motion. We are voting against. We are not voting against the motion. We are voting against the Conservatives' relevance. We are not voting against the motion. We are voting against the Conservatives' relevance. We are a low tax administration, as proven by our low 3.99 council tax. Thank you, Councillor Matthews. Bless you. And Reform is a low tax party, as proven by the recently published averages showing Reform as the lowest council tax nationwide. Funny that the Conservatives have drifted so far away from their values, they're now with a higher national council tax than Labour. Reform at 3.94, Labour at 4.7, Conservatives at 4.9, average. Wow. Wow. Anyway, we don't believe that it's fair to take hard-earned money from some people and then distribute it to other people who haven't earned it in places it didn't come from. Secondly, this area of work sits firmly under my executive oversight, and I am committed to representing the Reform majority on this council, the Nottinghamshire residents who voted for us, and ensuring their interests are championed as projects within my portfolio progress into reality. The leader, Councillor Barton, sits on the MCA board, which is due to discuss the regional visitor economy sector plan in June, I believe, and we all trust that Mick will exercise his judgment when influencing the board also. The opposition has brought a motion today that appears to be a copy from a Conservative headquarters, built on reports and indications rather than substantiated facts. It's telling that they chose to copy someone else's script instead of engaging with us. Had they done so, they might have gained a genuine understanding of the brief and the leading group stance on it. But obviously, following a template is easier than performing their own due diligence. Cheers, Martin. As we've got into the habit now, we'll continue and correct their mistakes, the Reform way. So to begin, there is currently no official proposal from the East Midlands Mayor to introduce a visitor levy. It hasn't gone to the board, and we know that because our leader sits on the board. And even when it does, and even if it was agreed, it wouldn't be implemented until 2028. And if our current government is anything to go by, this will probably change and flip-flop at least 3 times. This chamber is being asked to spend its time debating a ghost, a policy that has not been written, tabled, or even drafted. Tourism is a vital contributor to Nottinghamshire's economy, and this council remains committed to supporting local jobs and businesses in the hospitality and leisure sectors. We know there's challenges in rural areas, but the opposition mentions billions in economic activity, but what they don't mention, that is under Reformed administration's watch, despite the challenges and room for improvements in many areas, the visitor economy has grown to £2.53 billion, a 6.7% increase in the last year, which is a great success story for the sector. While the Conservative group is busy writing letters to oppose rumours, this Cabinet is actually at the table with the Mayor and the East Midlands Combined County Authority, shaping the Visit East Midlands strategy and securing real investment for our county. The timing of this motion is wrong, the premise is wrong, and the intent is purely political. Trying to set up gotchas on their Facebook and with their friends in the local media to incorrectly imply that Reform voted for a visitor tax when we simply voted against their relevance. It's premature to take a definitive stance on a speculative idea. We will wait for evidence, we will wait for a business case, and we will continue to put the interest of Nottinghamshire first. Chairman, the opposition wants us to spend today debating a tax that doesn't exist, proposed by a mayor who hasn't tabled it to solve a problem that we don't have. This motion is a work of fiction. We prefer to work in the real world, where tourism is up 6.7%, and our relationship with the East Midlands Combined County Authority is delivering actual results for Nottinghamshire, and therefore we cannot support it.
Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. I think I just wonder if our friends in the local press, I wonder why they're our friends, because they're sat in a nice warm area instead of out the cold where you'd have them out the door. But just for our friends in the local press, I think we've just heard, ladies and gentlemen, councillors, if I may, the definition of the Reform way. We've all been waiting for that, haven't we? I'll tell you what the definition is, you might have missed it. All talk and no action. All talk and no action is the Reform way. We'll promise on our leaflets to cut and freeze council tax, but we'll do the total opposite, costing them 20 million quid. We'll promise to reduce council spend and cut the salaries of executives, but we'll spend 75 grand on flags instead of filling your 1,000 potholes. And we want to stop the tourism tax, but we're not going to vote for it. The Reform way, ladies and gentlemen, all talk and no action, Madam Chairman. And I'd just like to remind Councillor Robertson, in case the East Midlands is not part of the Reform way, the East Midlands Combined Authority covers Nottinghamshire and Derbyshire. So of course you've seen this motion before, because people in Derbyshire don't want the tax either. And that's why they've debated it. And I tell you who else has seen the motion, Councillor Robertson, our good friend there, Martin Wright. Do you know why? Because it's been debated in Mansfield. And how did Councillor Wright vote? He voted to get rid of it. He voted to tell the mayor. He voted to tell the mayor to sod off with the tourism tax. I totally agree, Martin Wright, and that's why we're going to vote for it today. I'm surprised you haven't whipped your group to follow your exempling, outstanding lead, Councillor Wright. Let's turn to Newark, Madam Chairman. I'm a proud Newark representative. Newark's really well connected. We've got 2 train stations, Madam Mayor. We've got Newark Castle, which saw the end of the Civil War. We've got one of Europe's very few violin-making colleges, which students attend, and they go all round the world with those violins. We've got a Royal Market, Madam Chairman, which hosts fantastic markets and events. We've got independent shops and pubs, which I like to frequent with Councillor Girling on a evening. And we have, Madam Chairman, the glorious River Trent, 2 marinas, and guess what go into those boats that Reform haven't stopped coming down the Trent yet? From all round Europe. They come down the River Trent, Reform members, they stop at Newark Marina, they get off their glorious boats and they spend money. Where do they spend it, Madam Chairman? In the pubs that Councillor Girling are in the shops that Councillor Barlow gets her wonderful dresses from. And well, I better not say women-only shop there, I would not say that. And in all the independent shops, books, stores and everything like that. And what happens when they spend the money in those shops? Completely different to when you book a hotel and pay this tax, by the way. What happens when people spend the money in those shops, bars, restaurants and wonderful tourist attractions? It goes back into the Newark. It goes back into Newark. Because the business owners, I know Labour don't like it, my God, how dare you create jobs when they're creating an unemployment crisis. Don't try and mitigate that and set up business. But all the money raised, when it's spent in Newark, goes back into Newark. And it creates jobs and creates opportunity, and it is absolutely fantastic. That, Madam Chairman, is in stark contrast to what the Labour mayor wants to do. She told the press, I know you're not friends with the press, you might not have seen it, Walker Girlie, but she told the press she can't wait to introduce this tax. Labour can never wait to introduce tax because they spend it worse than people can in the shops of Newark. She's going to introduce this tax, £1 to £2 you're going to pay now, and as has already been said quite rightly from my friend there who's moved backwards, and I miss him from the front here, but my good friend there said that's where it starts. and it will go up and up and up. And what will happen is the rural areas that attract these fantastic tourists into Newark and Rushcliffe and other areas, all the money will go on the city to bail out their own incompetence right across Nottinghamshire and Derbyshire, and we must not allow that to happen. That's why we need to vote no to introducing a tourism tax, and that's why we need to follow Councillor Wright's lead and vote with this motion to say no, we'll have the money, it's spent in rural areas and reinvested into rural areas to then attract even more people, Madam Chairman. I urge the whole chamber to follow Councillor Wright's lead and vote with this motion and against the tourism tax. Thank you very much.
Councillor Suddington to speak, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, a lot of what I was going to say has been said by Councillor Smith, needless to say. I'm amazed that you don't want to support this. Absolutely amazed. And let me just make 2 points I've heard today. Reforms, one of you, and I don't know which one, actually said we never raise taxes. You have raised the council tax. We've heard that a levy is not a tax. It's a dressed up word for a tax. So that's 2 things that have been said that are totally incorrect. People are receiving their council tax bills right now and they have seen a rise from Nottingham County Council. They're not blind, they're not stupid, they know exactly what you've done. So moving on from there, I'm amazed that you're not supporting tourism. You have Rufford Park. You have Clumber Avenue, Clumber Park. And as Councillor Smith has said, we have Newark Castle, which is historic in itself, Newark Parish Church, which is the 2nd largest steeple in the country, next to Stamford. There are country parks around the Mansfield, Sutton and Ashfield area, and there are country parks in the northern area of the county. How are people going to get to all these parks? Are they going to come by helicopter, drop into a park and fly out again? No, they're not. They're going to stay in a hotel. We've got the cost of living crisis. We've got people who come who have to pay for the car parks. They have to pay for their meals. They have to pay for their drinks. Petrol, if they can get it. Businesses are suffering. They want tourism. And here you are agreeing to put a tax on hotels. Just think what you're doing because you're going to drive trade out of your areas. They'll go to Lincoln and they'll go elsewhere to Yorkshire. What about the Pilgrim Fathers that you all advertise and want people to come and see? What about our theatres? For goodness sake, don't say this is not relevant. It is, because people have been speaking about it in all councils, including Councillor Martin Wright. Please be sensible. Please attract trade to your area and don't drive it away. And let's have a majority on this vote today. How do you expect your leader to go and talk to the mayor if you haven't supported what he's going to ask? I mean, how is he going to go and say that there was a vote here, people don't want the tourism tax, when you all haven't supported it? For goodness sake, support your leader and let him go with a majority vote.
Councillor Stoll, please, to speak.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll be quite brief. It's probably no surprise that I'm going to vote against today's motion, but that should not be construed as a vote for a tax or a levy, whatever you want to call it. The reason I'm going to vote against it is this hasn't even been proposed yet by MCA. When it is, we will be against it. I myself personally, I believe in the small state. I want to see the state get out of people's way. Money is best served in people's own pockets and not in the coffers of councils or governments. We do not need money being taken out of people's pockets and siphoned off. It's a tax on fun, and it's a tax on families and their holidays. Now, I completely agree with what has been said over there, that we shouldn't be taking more money out of people's pockets, absolutely. But this motion is ill thought through. It's not even a proposed policy yet. It's an idea, and we know that MCA are likely to propose this and go with it. But at the moment, until it is, then we're debating literally a ghost. And I think it was Councillor Walker-Gurley that said that. So I'm going to vote against this. So thank you very much for the motion. Like I say, I agree with the sentiment of it, but the timing is ill-judged because there's nothing to actually vote on yet. But when MCA do, and if they do propose this policy, then I, for one, will be against it. In terms of going forwards, if you actually propose a motion for that road out there to be called, I don't know, let's call it the Reform Way, I will definitely vote for that because I think that would be brilliant. So I look forward to seeing that one coming before this council at some point in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Now I call Councillor Brill to speak, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll just begin by making a very quick preliminary point. I once heard a member of this council give a very eloquent explanation as to why it is that on one particular issue, if you're double-hatted and you're a member of two authorities, you might vote two different ways. That was in relation to local government reorganisation. It was an excellent explanation as to why you might vote two different ways on the same topic, and the explanation was given by Councillor Sam Smith. Now I want to go back to the main point. It's the second time today, just by coincidence, I'm rising to speak against something Councillor Liz Clooney has said. I've got nothing personal against Councillor Clooney. She shops in Carlton West. She's my neighbouring councillor, and we work together on ward issues. But she talked about the city and why it is in the state it is, and there was the reference to 14 years of Tory austerity. It was more or less 38 years ago that I first arrived in Nottingham, having been born 20 miles up the road in a neighbouring county. Nottingham City in the late 80s, and there'll be plenty of people in this hall that know this, Nottingham City was fantastic. People would come to the city from all across the Midlands and further afield. They would even come from London. If you wanted a fantastic night out, you'd come to Nottingham. And certainly in the late 80s, it was a safe and clean and fantastic place to live. And you even had fountains in the market square. Imagine that. And then just at the time I arrived in Nottingham, what happened? We've had 40 years of municipal socialism in Nottingham. And of course, the socialism you get in the city is a very different type of socialism that you get in Gedling. And for the majority of those 40 years, there's been one particular individual who I won't name, but I think we all know who I'm referring to, that ran that city in a particular way, in a broadly hard-left socialist way, and that is why it is in the state it is today. I'll give one example. I was working in the private sector in the city in the early 2010s when the parking levy came in. Of course, it's not a tax, it's a levy. And I was privy to multiple conversations with multiple businesses, having the conversation, do we stay in the city? Do our clients want to brave the traffic, find a parking space, then pay a levy, or will they go to an out-of-city business park enterprise area? And huge numbers of businesses made the decision to go to an enterprise park, because that's what socialism is about. They always run out of other people's money. So the principle of the motion I agree with, and by the way, I thought that Councillor Om spoke extremely well when moving the motion. Let's move on to our position.
Politics is the art of the possible. We, as the majority group, are in a position where we don't just throw bricks at windows, bang on the door and shout through the letterbox. We are in the room. We are in the room, principally Mick Barton is in the room, negotiating and talking with people that make these decisions. We are debating a phantom, ghost, spirit proposal that is no more than a speck on the horizon, something that has not happened yet. If politics is the art of the possible, then what you do is that you negotiate inside the room at the earliest opportunity to prevent, to stop, to mitigate any proposal that you are against. My experience from politics in the past is that if you are banging on the window and shouting at the door, you get nowhere. So for now, and the position may change, but for now, I entirely support the proposition that we negotiate this, we talk with the mayor, and we prevent it. Thank you.
Councillor Mason, please.
Good afternoon, Chamber. Mine's quite short and quite simple. This doesn't exist yet. If it did exist, it would be written down in terms we could debate. And that might actually be interesting. But this isn't interesting. This is theoretical. And the reason I would suggest you think about voting on it today is if you can vote on it today, you cannot bring it back to this council to actually debate on it should, and I say should, the mayor actually make a decision on it. Because you can't, it's constitutional. You can't revisit what you've already just done.
Chairman, point of order, legal inquiry.
All right,
So I've just had this confirmed with the monitoring officer. So I'm sure you actually, because it's being debated today, you wouldn't be able to bring it back for 6 months anyway. So if you vote for against it today, you wouldn't be able to vote for it again in 6 months anyway. This is the only chance you have to vote on it.
I will. We say thank you very much. You still can't come back for 6 months. Well, I would actually like to debate a subject rather than a theory.
Can we move on now, please?
Lovely, thank you very much.
Councillor Fashio, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So kind of used over here to being in the minority with just the four of us, but I do feel that this motion is just an effort to scaremonger really on something that, like I say, isn't defined yet. This overnight levy, visitor levy, is the norm in many places across Europe. Lots of us will have paid something like this when we go on holiday, and presumably we haven't changed where we've gone on holiday because we had to pay a couple of £2 a night extra for that. It is an overnight levy. It's a small charge which will be per room paid by visitors who stay overnight. It's not going to be people who go into bars or pubs or restaurants. It's for people who stay overnight in hotels, B&Bs and the like. The proposal, how I understand it from the Mayor, is that it will be ring-fenced and reinvested back into Nottinghamshire and Derbyshire. So visitors who come here obviously place additional demand on resident-funded public services, be that roads, be that transport, be that refuse. They use all of our services when they're here, but they're not actually paying into it in any way, shape or form. If we have this ring-fence money, it will mean that they can contribute while also helping fund extra things that will make coming here better for future visitors, such as extra bus services and public transport. So that ring-fenced money will help improve visitor experience and could also be used to help market our area as a tourist destination, which, as we've just heard from Councillor Wilmot, there is no tourist board now. And I expect there are a lot more people could come to Nottinghamshire and Derbyshire and spend their money here, but probably don't even think about it because they never hear about it. So there's no evidence in other areas that a levy puts people off visiting. that the research has been done, and there is no evidence of that. People seem to understand that when they go and stay somewhere, they pay a little bit and it goes into that area. Most people don't seem to have a problem with it. So it will help increase investment into our community rather than have our residents have to foot the bill for extra demands on services through more council tax. That's how I see it. What I would say about the motion, if it actually kind of included any alternative on how we bring tourism into the area or invest in our area to help more tourists come, then we could maybe consider supporting it. But there's nothing about that. It's just rubbishing an idea that's been put forward. In Broxtowe, for example, I know that the only thing that the Conservatives mention when we talk about tourism is the fact that they want to shut the D.H. Lawrence Birthplace Museum. That's their contribution towards tourism in our area. So because there's absolutely no viable alternative, and because this is something that is tried and tested elsewhere, we won't be able to support the motion. Thank you.
Councillor Bestwick, please.
Sorry, I'm on a bit earlier than I thought. I wasn't going to speak at all on this motion.
You should never say that.
Never say that. Never say that. There's now they're going to tell you to sit down. But I can see you are all desperate to hear from me. I'm in a very strange position because I actually agreed with some of what Councillor Stoll and Councillor Brill said. Right. Particularly Councillor Brill about the parking levy. I remember I had a business at the time and I got a bill for £12,000 to park my own cars in my own car park. It was only going to be temporary though, or it was going to be low, and yeah, we know what happened, don't we? Listen, this is not a ghost motion. This has been approved by the monitoring officer, okay, like all motions. So pretending it's not a real motion or nothing's happened yet is for the birds, frankly. And what we wanted to do, although you seem to have turned it into a, I'm sorry, I'm talking to these guys, a political arrangement, we wanted to give Councillor Barton the tools to take him to MCA and say, look, my council that I lead does not want this proposition even putting forward. That would show everything to the mayor about how we mean business as a council, that we do not want socialist policies in this county. So then I'm thinking, well, Reform, surely you're a right-leaning party economically, certainly. So why wouldn't you want that? Why wouldn't you want that? And then I thought to myself, hang on a minute. Councillor Mick Barton's ex-Labour. Councillor Simon Wright's ex-Labour. No, not you. Sorry, Martin Wright.
Okay,
sorry, apologies. Sorry, Martin Wright, you ex-Labour, sir?
I think he deserves an apology for that. He wasn't.
I did apologise.
Apologise for being late.
I did apologise.
Everyone should apologise for being late.
Are you all sorry?
Keep going, sir. Keep going.
Councillor Mason, I believe you were ex-Labour. But thank you. So, Councillor Vernon, I believe you were ex-Labour. The point I'm making here is can it be that the reason that you don't want to put this forward through is that Reform, after all, aren't a right-wing economic policy, they're a left-wing socialist party.
Councillor Garland.
I'm really sorry. I'm going to do point of order 100. I really apologise to do this to you because I appreciate it's disrespectful, and I'm sure you meant it as a joke, but I understand. I'm sure you understand that as chair, the Labour group don't take that joke as funny. Thank you.
Councillor Garland, I didn't mean it as a joke. It's a fact.
Sorry. I'm sorry, I don't think that's appropriate then. You are meant to be an independent chair. You're meant to be an independent chair. I don't think that's appropriate.
Councillors, we have 6 speakers still left to discuss, so can we just calm down and get on with the business? Councillor Barton to speak.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Councillor Lee, I don't need a break. I don't need to be told what to do. I know what I'm doing. Councillor Adams, I've got no papers, look. And it's ironic that you were calling Councillor Robertson when you've got an handful of papers reading from a script. But anyway, that was funny. Councillor Saddington, you mentioned tax. The Conservatives over the last 8 years have put council tax up over 40%. The last 4 years, just under 20%. So don't talk to us about taxes. Councillor Bestwick, we don't need any Tory tools. That's what you said.
They've already got 2.
There's enough already in here, so I'll leave it at that. These are your words, not mine, not mine. So, these are just your words. So let's get back to your motion. Your motion is a bone idle motion. It has been picked from another council, but guess what? It's not the first time. Every time you bring a motion, it's from either one of our chairs, from one of our committees, and you're picking the holes out of what the work we're trying to do and ideas. That's what you do. I call it bone idle politics, and I'm being polite. The reason we're voting it down today is because of that reason alone. Plus, it's 18 months away. It's going to be bought in 2 or 3 years' time. You're far too early. If you'd have bought this in a year's time, you might be there. I take my job very seriously on the EMCA board, very seriously. And EMCA is going to make this area in Derbyshire a fantastic place, hopefully, in years to come. It's here to stay, so we've got to nurture what it does. I won't be making urgent decisions or knee-jerk decisions without the information in front of me. I would never do that because I'm a professional. And that's why I can't support your motion today, and that's why we can't support your motion. It's too early, it's immature, it's just false, and it's bone idle. It's come from another council. I mean, it's really poor. It is really poor. But anyway, so back to the facts. I can't support it, but I do. There will be a debate around the table, and I'll be at that debate. But I'll have all the right information, and I will make the right decision of what the reform members and myself want to do. But I'll only do that when I've got the right information in front of me, and that's many, many, many months down the line. As I say, it's only just got back for consultation, and we haven't even got the results yet. And then the mayor's going to go out for consultation. So we've got lots more details to put on the table first. So when I get all them details, I will make a decision, and not until then. And that is the reform way. Thank you.
Councillor Cullen to speak, please.
Oh, dearie me. Oh, dear. Okay. I think everybody watching this online will appreciate that Reform have got sour grapes that they failed to submit this motion quickly enough. So I mentioned earlier in this meeting that sometimes sitting at the back here, sometimes watching the animosity between you two, I really suggest you should be a little bit nicer to each other, because honestly, your different members keep swapping parties and you might need each other at some point. So you really should try being a bit nicer to each other. But model motions, let me tell you, I mentioned earlier about the naivety and lack of experience. Model motions are a thing. They're a normal thing. Model motions separate. And we have Councillor Robertson telling us that Derbyshire County Council already debated this motion, reform, and voted in favour of it. And he is in favour of it, but the reason he's not in favour of it is because the same model motion that has gone to several different councils in the East Midlands, well, in the mayoral authority, it's been put forward in this authority by the Conservatives. So now he's not in favour of it. Councillor Gurley, I was trying to figure out if it was 2 weeks or 3 weeks, but I've been in 2 meetings with you now where you have said in the meeting that you will support people that voted for you. Now, let me tell you, it's not on. It is not okay to do that. 66% of the residents of Nottinghamshire did not vote reform, and it is your legal duty to represent all of them, not just the ones that voted for you. So don't let me hear you say that again in another meeting, because it's offensive to the people that didn't vote reform, who are now worried that they've got no representation because you'll only support people who voted for you. So I'm not going to change your mind on this. I know I'm not going to change your mind on this, and I can't resist saying this because obviously you've got a whipped vote over there to vote against this, and we have got recent examples of what happens to reform members who don't go with a whipped vote. Yeah. So I know you're not going to change your mind, but I'm going to say deciding to vote against something that you agree with just to make a political point is just plain daft. Councillor Bestwick, it's me. I'm the one that used to be Labour. It's me. Okay, just to clear everything up, it's me. Councillor Brill, I'm getting on to my point now. Councillor Brill, not called Nottingham City Council, hard left. Hard left. They've never been hard left, ever. And I'm going to just give you a little lesson now in what it is to be left of centre. Nowhere near hard left, left of centre. I do not support this tourist tax. I do not support any sort of tax that will do nothing to alleviate the year-on-year underfunding of local authority services. And tourism, heritage tourism, all of this is a local authority service. I support local government services. And this tax is what we would call in Broxton Alliance, in my part of the world, a sticking plaster tax that will do nothing at all to deliver what it's promised when the Mayor talks about it. I support a national fair taxation scheme where those that can, and I think my Labour Party colleagues would agree with me on this if they were allowed to agree with me on anything. But I support a national fair taxation scheme where those who can afford to pay the most do contribute, that the super rich do pay fair tax or even any tax that can then be used to fund local government services so that we don't have to tax Mrs. Smith with her 5 kids staying in a hotel. We actually have
30 seconds, Councillor.
Thank you.
I call Councillor Matthews, please.
Sure. Well, it's time for the reform way. Can we call for a vote, please?
And I'll second that as well. Thank you.
Can I have a seconder, please?
I will second that.
That's fine. Yeah.
So we need a vote. So you need to ask all those in favour of moving to the vote.
All those in favour of calling for the vote?
Madam Chair, put your hand up.
Just to move to the, it's just to move to the vote.
This is just to move to the vote, what you voted for.
Right.
Okay, those against moving to the vote?
Those against moving to the vote.
Okay. Any abstentions? Abstentions?
Any abstentions?
None. Okay, so. Summing up.
Councillor Girling, we're summing up.
The point of order number 91, Madam Chairman. Can you tell me and the people in here how many people have been prevented from speaking by the reform way of actually curtailing this debate? Because if there are a lot of people, then that is not democracy. Wasn't democracy by putting the press upstairs, the back down here, victory, and this isn't democracy either.
Point of order, Madam Chair. Point of order 91. Just copying Councillor Carr. Just a very quick check. When did the debate actually start? 'Cause there's only 60 minutes on a motion. Right, thank you.
We have spent 1 hour 20 minutes with can I just speak? With 19 speakers.
Councillor Robinson, would you not speak to me like that? I know you find it difficult. Yeah, you were looking at me when you said it. Just keep yourself to yourself for a change.
Be quiet.
19 speakers, you had 3 waiting.
We had 19 speakers. We have 3 waiting, or we had 3 waiting.
But we had the vote, so it's Councillor Girling.
However, I'm asking Councillor Girling now.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I had a brilliant speech written out to give you, but I've had to do all these notes by some of the things that you've said because I need to bring those up really. And about the motion, right? So let's get that out of the way straight away. Yes, it is the same as other motions, and that's deliberate because if we all vote in the MPA area against it, that's a really powerful message. Yeah, that actually Councillor Barton would be able to take to MPA and say, no, we don't want it, neither does Derbyshire, neither does the city, and that's a really strong message, rather than just relying on Councillor Barton to do it, because, you think is some sort of messiah. And I think one of the things you're missing out on here is the big picture, okay? The Mayor has made it very clear that she wants to do this levy. She's made it very clear that she wants to do that. And I've been in politics, in a council for 20 years now, and sometimes you can stop something happening before it gets momentum. Yeah, and the way you do that is by doing something like this motion to get rid of it, so it kills it straight away, so it will never raise its head. Now, what you're saying, we'd rather let them put that motion forward and we can go and complain and all that lot. Well, actually, I think you said it, actually. The reason you're not supporting this motion's got nothing to do with the motion. It's the fact that we've put it forward.
Yeah.
And so you are messing around with businesses' livelihoods for the sake of having a go at us. And I think that's poor. I think it's a bit pathetic, to be fair. I mean, I could go on about some of the things Labour have said, because it really shows they've got no idea of economic development. They've got no idea about the fact that actually people come into areas, spend money, which means businesses grow, employ people. Those people are from the area and they spend the money in the area because they go to the pubs and the clubs and the places that don't get the levy, but they spend the money there as well. And that thrives the town, that thrives the city, that does all that sort of thing. And what we're messing around with here, okay? 35 million people visit Nottinghamshire a year. 35 million people. And they bring in £2.5 billion. And you're messing around with this just because you wanted to have a go at us. That's as simple as that. Yeah, and we've got 22,000 jobs that support that industry. Okay, so again, you're messing around with that. Saying you don't want them to get the tax, but you're not going to support this. I mean, it's so childish, and I hope people are watching because they'll see how childish you are. And Councillor Walker-Gurney, your economic development cabinet member, you should understand that more than anybody else in this chamber, but clearly not. And I'm sorry, but if you think the council leader is going to have more influence than all the councils in MCA saying, yeah, go on, Mick, get in there, here's our letter, here's what we think, you know, you've got our support, then you're delusional. Anyway, what I'm going to do, because I'm a bit miffed with you all, because you're playing politics with something really serious, what I'm going to do now is concentrate on Newark, because I'm going to tell you some of the things that you can do in Newark, which is really good. But before I do that, is there any Yorkshiremen in here, Yorkshire people? But I'm going to tell you something now, because Robin Hood, obviously, it's from Nottinghamshire. Right, and I've heard it loads of times that Yorkshire people say, no, it's not, it's from Yorkshire. Well, it's not, because if it's from Yorkshire, take the money and keep it. So Robin Hood is most certainly from Nottinghamshire. And that's the strong message we should always also be saying is to the City Council, yeah, you've got the Sheriff, we've got Robin Hood. So stuff off from him as well. Anyway, Newark, amazing jewel in the crown, Newark is. So it's one of the best places in Nottinghamshire, in my view. We've got the castle, where King John was killed. He was poisoned. King Charles I hid there when those nasty, during the Civil War. We had 3 sieges, the last one finishing in 1646. We've got the sconce, which is the largest earthen defence system in Europe, all in Newark. Now, this is no reflection on me, but these are some of the places that you might want to visit. We've got the flying circus. We've got Oscars. We've got the navigation. We've got the barge. We've got the Prince Rupert. We've got Not My Monkey. All really good pubs with good food and good eatery. We've got Robert Kiddie. Now, if you go to County Hall, those big statues that's carved out, Robert Kiddie from Newark, actually on Millgate, did those really, really well. Gladstone, the Prime Minister, Newark. Sherwood Forest, yeah, that's probably the most visited place, tourism place in Nottinghamshire. There's thousands and thousands of visitors there. But remember this, right? During COVID, the hospitality sector was the most hit sector out of all the businesses. Got absolutely hammered because they couldn't do anything. Yeah, so there's the hardest hit. They then started to recover. Yeah, then Rachel from accounts hits them with all them blooming taxes. Yeah. So that's knocked them down again. And now you lot want them to have more taxes. And that's just going to be the nail in the coffin for some businesses. And they're not all big businesses. They're not all big. There are family businesses out there. And there's people that work in those big businesses that rely on those jobs. And that's what you're voting against. So I urge you to really think about this. Just, suck it up. And think, actually, it is a good motion. It is at the right time. I'm going to support it because it's the right thing to do. Yeah, and bash us on some other thing. Get us on next meeting, have a go at us on that. I don't mind. I think you're funny anyway. I think you're a joke. So, have a go. But this is a really serious motion that's happening at the right time with lots of other people doing it. That's why it's the same, so that we can all do a strong message to save our industry, save our tourist industry. Thank you, Chairman. That's it.
I call on Councillor to speak.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You have 10 minutes.
It is disappointing to see some of our colleagues are not in favour of this very important motion, which affects thousands of businesses in Nottinghamshire. I was happy to work with my colleagues in Derbyshire on this motion as it affects both of us. As we have same mayor, we have an opportunity today to send a unified message to the mayor after Derbyshire County Council also called on the mayor to not impose a tourism tax. Thank you.
Well,
We have had a call for a recorded vote, so we need 10 hands, please.
okay, members, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
That's fine, we've got 10.
Okay, members, thank you. I will call names in order. If you could indicate nice and clearly, please, using your microphones so folks can hear upstairs and on the live stream, starting with Councillor Adams.
For Nottinghamshire.
Councillor Adegoke.
Against, please.
Councillor Answer.
Against.
Councillor Barlow.
For.
Councillor Barton.
Against.
Councillor Bestwick.
For.
Councillor Bingham.
Against.
Councillor Brill.
Against.
Councillor Andy Brown.
For.
Councillor Kev Brown.
Against.
Councillor Butler.
For.
Councillor Carr.
For.
Councillor Chowdhury.
Against.
Councillor David Clark.
Against.
Councillor John Clark.
Not in the room. Not in the room.
Literally. There you go. Okay. Councillor Clooney.
Against.
Councillor Cotty.
For.
Councillor Cox.
Against.
Councillor Cullen.
For.
Councillor Dale.
Against.
Councillor Darrington.
Against.
Councillor Dodd.
Against.
Councillor Faccio.
Against.
Councillor Gamble. Councillor Girling.
For.
Councillor Gould.
Against.
Councillor Gowland.
Against.
Councillor Green.
Against.
Councillor Introna.
For.
Councillor John.
Against.
Councillor Justice.
Against.
Councillor Lawton. Councillor Lee.
For.
Councillor Limber.
Against.
Councillor Lowe.
Against.
Councillor Lukacs.
Against.
Councillor Mann.
Against.
Councillor Mason.
Against.
Councillor Matthews.
Against.
Councillor McCormack.
Against.
Councillor Om.
For.
Councillor Pearson.
For.
Councillor Pepper. Councillor Rawson.
Against.
Councillor Rich.
Against.
Councillor Robertson.
Against.
Councillor Saban.
Against.
Councillor Saddington. Councillor Siemens. Councillor David Smith. Councillor Sam Smith.
For.
Councillor Stoll. Councillor Upton.
For.
Councillor Vernon.
Against.
Councillor Walker Gurley.
Against.
Councillor Ward.
Against.
Councillor Wheeler. Councillor Wilmot.
For.
Councillor Kelvin Wright.
Against.
Councillor Martin Wright.
Against.
Councillor Simon Wright.
Against.
Bear with us, folks. Top them up. Councillor Clark, you weren't in the room earlier. Would you like to indicate your vote?
Councillors. Voting. Voting for, 19. Voting against, 41. Abstentions, none. So it falls.
Or the end of the meeting.
Now, before the end of the meeting, before you all go, just want to remind you of the chairman's raffle today. So we've raised £125. Chocolates won by Councillor Darrington, and the bath bombs won by Neil Betterson. Bath bombs. Champagne won by Councillor Cullen. So thank you very much. The meeting is now closed. John.
Madam Chair, apparently do not disturb does not mean what I thought it did. So.
Oh.
Thank you, everyone.